What would you do to guarantee generation wealth? Because there is a bank that is trying to do that. They are offering a 100-year CD, but is it actually worth investing in? And what are the pros and cons of something like this? Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, when this came to my attention, I was aghast. Okay, I was shocked because this is a crazy concept, but also really, really interesting for a ton of reasons that I want to just nerd out and discuss. But we're going to do a little math. Well, really, I'm going to do the math and we're just going to discuss it because some people are math averse. But I'm going to do the math, show you guys the calculations here on the screen. But it's just really interesting because remember, this is a CD. It is a certificate of deposit. It is a guaranteed return. So even though it's 100 years, it may not be for me, but, and I already have kids, I could literally guarantee my grandkids, assume my kids do have kids, right? Which don't exist, but I could guarantee my theoretical grandkids something, okay? And this 100-year CD is a 4.75% return, which historically is pretty good. Now, right now, today, and we did an entire list of the best savings accounts, a lot of those were 5% and above. 4.75 is in the ballpark. Okay, it's in the ballpark of some of the best savings accounts out there right now today, and interest rates are relatively high. At some point, rates are going to come down. This is going to look even better in the future. Now, I don't know about 100 years in the future. Okay, look, I've been right on a lot of stuff. Predicting 100 years out is not one of them. Okay, but 4.75 could be very good. Now, the downside is because we don't know what it's going to look like in 100 years, this rate is going to be this rate 100 years into the future. 21, 24 is just wild to think about. But here's the thing. If I could put $150,000 in, I know it's a big number, but work with me. If I could put $150,000 into this CD, my grandkids would have $15 million. I could basically guarantee them $15 million in 21, 24. Okay, that would be very close to generational wealth. It would be something. Granddad could leave them something, okay, at that point in time. But there is a flaw here. The first flaw is that this does not account for inflation. That interest rate is flat and it's going to remain flat. Now, historically, and this is what makes this a little inaccurate, is the fact that when we account for inflation, especially from an economic perspective, usually inflation is anywhere between 2 to 3%. Now, obviously, in the last few years, that has not been the case. Inflation has been closer to 3, right? We've seen inflation as high as 9, where this would be completely irrelevant, right? If inflation was at 9% for 3 or 4 years, wipe this whole thing out. This whole thing is completely worthless to me, right? But if I bring this down, right, and say instead of 4.75, so I can make sure this accounts for inflation, and bring this all the way down to 2.75, then instead of having 15 million, then that brings us all the way down to $2.2 million is what this would be worth to my grandkids. Now, I've got 2 kids now. I have no idea how many grandkids I would have at that point in time. So I don't know how far $2.2 million is going to go in the year 21, 24. Okay. And now I would imagine it would still go well, right? Granddad leave you $2 million, y'all figure it out, okay? But I think that's okay, right? It ain't bad, okay? It's not bad at all, and it would be as close to a guarantee as possible. But is there something I could have done that might have been anywhere in the ballpark that could have been better? You know what you're here for. We talk about the stock market. That's what we're here for, okay? Now, the downsides of investing in the stock market is the fact that it is not guaranteed. However, the upside of the stock market is this. Historically, when you count inflation, the stock market over the last 100 years has given us an average of what? 7%. That is including inflation already. Now, if we are talking about just index funds, that's exactly what we're talking about. If I took that same $150,000 for the exact same 100 years, left it alone, S&P 500 index fund, basic index funds that we talk about all the time, we are looking at $130 million 100 years from now. Do you want a chance? Do you want an opportunity for 130 million for your grandkids, or do you want a guarantee for 2 million? That is really what this comes down to at the end of the day. That's really the end of the day question. A near guarantee for 2 million, or a chance at 130. Now, why do I say near guarantee and not an absolute guarantee? Because at any point in 100 years, your kids or your grandkids can withdraw before it gets to that 2 million. Okay, there are rules in which somebody can withdraw at any point. That is a thing. Same thing with with the stock market. Also, there could be a crash at any point in time. All types of stuff, right? But let's say it gets to 100 years. There is no guarantee. We know the stock market does fluctuate. We saw what happened 2 years ago with the stock market. So there's no guarantee in either case, but we do know the CD is a lot safer, right? We know for a fact that it's safer. So we know that the stock market is not the safest thing in the world in comparison to a bank. But I mean, to have 130, a chance at 130 that can go a lot longer for a lot more generations, I kind of lean that way, and that's not including potential dividends. I kind of lean towards what I know when it comes to the stock market, and especially with what I've seen with inflation, which we don't know where that is going to go. Now, notice, really, to be more conservative, we're talking, 3%. 3.5% of what inflation is, right? And I was generous with leaving it at 2.75 instead of just leaving it at 2%, right? So I was being a little nicer than what it may be in reality, and not including, again, what tax would have been in either situation. And then, again, I have no idea how many times that stuff is going to get split between how many grandkids are going to be there at that point in time. So that is personally how I would look at it, but not everybody is as not everybody has the same risk tolerance as I would. Also, I'm not gonna be here in 100 years anyway, so we'll see, right? Well, they gonna see, I guess. I wonder if this video is gonna be here in 100 years, and we'll see how what does happen and who does what, grandkids. But we'll see what happens at that point. But let me know what you think. I'm curious at what option you would choose and how you would make that decision. But I will say this: you do need some plan. Okay, you do need some plan, and there are some things and mistakes that you do absolutely want to avoid. But if you are going to be a long-term investor, you are going to need some long-term investments and some things that you can invest in that you can absolutely count on, that you're not going to have to check up on every single day. If you want to know what those investments are, then you want to check out this video right here.